Hey everyone, Spooky Muckluck here, and if you play a cloth-wearing necromancer who usually sits in the back and you've decided to get your hands dirty, this is a guide to the low-intensity Reaper. The purpose of a low-intensity build is to be as effective as possible with the build itself, so that the gameplay requires as few separate buttons as possible. This is not the top DPS build a Reaper can achieve, but rather an option for when you are learning the class, want to chill and watch Netflix on another monitor, or if you have shaky hands or any other condition that can impact your gameplay. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more content, ring the bell for all future notifications. As always, my undying gratitude to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. More on how you can support at the end. Let's begin. Equipment. Full Berserker stats with superior runes of the Eagle. You got two weapon options. Our testing showed almost identical results with both. Option 1, a greatsword. It offers more weapon damage than option 2, but slower shroud generation, so it takes longer to get back into your Reaper form. Option 2, Dagger and Warhorn. Less damage than the Greatsword, but it's compensated by generating Shroud very fast. This gets you back into Reaper Shroud faster, and it also has a stronger interrupt. My personal preference was Dagger and Warhorn. It felt much safer, but both put out nearly the same numbers. Sigils of force and impact on your weapon of choice. Our heal skill can be anything. Signet of Vampirism or Summon Blood Fiend offer a minor damage increase. I went with Signet. Summon Shadow Fiend, Signet of Spite, Signet of Undeath, and Summon Flesh Golem Elite skill. Our specializations are Spite 1-3-2, Soul Reaping 1-1-2, and Reaper 2-1-3. Most of our traits are chosen for flat increases in damage, some worth pointing out. Reaper's Might. Your Shroud auto attacks will generate Might. Signets of Suffering lets our signets work while we are in Shroud. Signet of Undeath is a Shroud battery, which keeps us in the Shroud much longer. Close to Death increases damage on under half health opponents. You will see a damage spike as they go under 50% from this and your runes. Unyielding Blast. Your Shroud auto attacks that already generated might now also inflict vulnerability. This combination will have us doing a lot of damage even when alone. Reaper's Onslaught. Basically, permanent quickness while in Reaper Shroud. Gameplay. The name of the game with a Reaper is to be in Reaper Shroud as much as possible, so when we aren't in Shroud, we're going to be generating it as fast as we can. While we are in Shroud, we're stretching it out as much as possible. Every third auto attack in Shroud will give you more Shroud, so completing successful auto attack chains will extend your time limit in it. Here's the auto attack version with full boons, conditions, generic food buff, banners, and spirits, with the only button we're pressing being Shroud itself. Remember that both Dagger and Greatsword generate life force, the Shroud juice, with their auto attacks, but Dagger does it much faster. This results in 23.3k DPS with peaks as high as 31k. If you can add a few more clicks to this build, Warhorn 5 and Shadow Fiend's activatable skill Haunt both generate life force. By pressing these two keys, then auto-attacking, your bar will fill up much faster, getting you back into Shroud faster. On Greatsword, replace the Warhorn 5 with Greatsword 3. While in Shroud itself, we're adding one more button, which is the 4 key. On a single target, this is a small damage increase, but it really shines when cleaving many enemies. Also, it's fun turning into a Beyblade. By doing this with the same buffs, we end up near 25k DPS. Again, much higher sub 50% of the target's health, and with much more cleaving damage with the Shroud 4 thrown in. Let's quickly talk about break bars. If it's time to interrupt your target, activate your elite skill first. The Flesh Golem Charge is your largest CC. Next, if you're not in Shroud, use Warhorn 4, or if you're using a Greatsword, use Greatsword 5. If you are in Shroud, you can use the 5 button or double tap the 3 to do additional CC. Finally, to set some proper expectations, here is the build with no buffs or debuffs in play other than what we ourselves bring. This is what you might see when completely on your own. The Li Reaper is very impressive even on its own due to it supplying its own quickness, might, and vulnerability. Now, let's talk about utility options. Boon removal. Necromancers excel at getting buffs off of the enemy. Dagger 3 and Greatsword 4 both remove boons from an enemy and corrupt them into debuffs. Spectral Grasp pulls 5 nearby enemies to you. Nothing kills enemies faster than pulling them all on top of a bunch of hungry DPS players. This is very handy in places like the Cold War Strike mission and open world events. Take this instead of the Shadow Fiend if it is time to use it. I'd like to briefly talk about Epidemic. Although not the god skill it once was, it is still very strong in some places. However, not with this build. Epidemic copies conditions from the target to other nearby targets. However, it uses your condition damage for the copied conditions, and you are power with this build. Signet of Undeath. Although this is a battery for your life force, do you know what does even more damage than this? A not dead teammate. When used, the skill gives up some hit points and revives one downed ally who is in danger of dying. If you think someone is going down, you can use this to save them. And that's all there is to it. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. Your support makes it possible for us to spend more time researching builds like this and working with the finest video editor on earth. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button for the YouTube algorithm, leave a comment with any tips and tricks on this topic, and subscribe for more content. Happy reaping.